Welcome to the ATA podcast, where we talk to former elite athletes sharing their insights and wisdom derived from successfully transitioning into life beyond the game. A very warm welcome to the Athlete Transition Accelerator. And as the eagle-eyed amongst you will spot, there's no guest today. It's just Carl and I, and we are delighted to be able to talk to you about something pretty unique, a new opportunity that's going to allow you to develop your own business whilst still competing, if that is your desire. And it links very much into the conversations we've been having ever since we founded ATA. And Carl, it's probably fair to say we've had thousands of conversations by now. It's a relentless stream of feedback from existing athletes, retired athletes, recently retired, long-term retired. We've worked really hard to get an understanding of where people are and what they need. And if you were to jump on one of the most consistent themes and pieces of feedback we've heard in those conversations, what would come to mind?
Well, I think, yeah, firstly, you're right. We've had so many conversations with athletes across different sports, different stages of their careers. And like you said, the one thing to me that keeps coming up time and time again is there's this real entrepreneurial edge that runs really deeply within many of the athletes that we've spoken to. And it's that same hunger, that drive, performance on the field that you see in the gym, in the pool. It's the same hunger that pushes entrepreneurs forward. Athletes are wired to compete. They're wired to learn fast, to adapt, to problem solve, to lead, and essentially that's entrepreneurship. And we keep hearing this over and over again. Now, it's not that ambition isn't there, and it's not that the ideas aren't there. It's what we keep seeing is there isn't this clear pathway to support athletes to figure out what their passions are, where their interests lie, and actually how do they build this business while still competing. Now, that's a challenge that we've been working really hard to solve, and we've had, again, tons of conversations with athletes, but also tons of conversations with people in industries. Um, we've taken what we've learned from every athlete that we've spoken to and every conversation we've had on the podcast to sort of start thinking about what can we build now that athletes can utilize that scratches the entrepreneurial itch.
Absolutely. And is it fair to say, Carl, in terms of scratching that entrepreneurial itch, most people have been in a mindset of, well, I'll do this when I've finished competing. I'll do this when I retire. I know it's something I want to explore, but it's just not possible for me to do it right now whilst I am still in the middle of pursuing my sporting discipline.
Yeah, I would say probably 100% of the athletes we talk to have that mindset. And
Right.
it's interesting. The purpose of the podcast is to explore the benefit of hindsight. And it's amazing this sort of switch of mindset you get from the athletes that have left that all say, actually, you should be doing this when you're playing. You have the time, you've got the network, you have the connections, you should be diving into this whilst you're playing, and you have that platform to utilize. So yeah, I mean, it's a very interesting mindset, and it's only after athletes have left their sport that there's this sort of switch of,
Yeah. Yeah. And
shoulda,
those
woulda,
themes have
coulda.
come through a lot, haven't they? And that's the nice thing about the podcast. We've deliberately said that notion we've all heard, we're all geniuses in hindsight, but we're trying to give people access to that hindsight so that you can make informed decisions prior to stepping out of sport. And you nailed it very succinctly there. Most of the athletes we've interviewed have said, you have got time. Don't delude yourself that you haven't got time to be looking at business opportunities, entrepreneurial opportunities, things that you can step into when you retire, and use your network. You've got a currency, you've got a stock when you're an athlete that allows you to have more cut through, more impact, whereas that naturally diminishes a little bit when you are no longer the Olympian, no longer the professional sportsman or woman. You are then a former Olympian or former professional sportsman or woman. So to take action whilst you're still in the game. And what's also interesting that's really come to the fore, I think, Carl, is this notion that when people have resisted this, that rhetoric is often, I need to put everything I can into performing at the highest level. So the default setting is that means more time in the gym, more time analyzing performance, more time on the field, more time honing my skills, which is absolutely reasonable. But some of the highest profile individuals we've spoken to, and Conrad Smith comes to mind as a double World Cup winner in rugby union. He and many others have talked about the benefit of being able to switch off periodically from your sporting discipline, the benefit from your mental point of view, but also from your performance point of view, to be able to just take yourself away from your discipline for half a day a week or a little bit longer and actually do something else. And that's been really powerful for me because the people are very entrenched. How does this help me perform? Well, actually, there's the answer. Here are some of the most established and successful people in sport saying to you, do things away from your sport to improve your performance, which I think has been a really powerful source of reflection. I know I have. I think you're the same, Carl. Lots of people have come back and commented, having listened to those episodes, that I never really thought of it like that. I saw it as an either or. I never really thought about doing something slightly different to enhance my performance whilst I'm still competing.
Yeah, I mean, it's been really cool. Some of the feedback we've had on that point here is I never actually thought I could do that. I thought to be the very best that I could possibly be, I had to be 24/7, fully immersed into my world of sport. Otherwise, my competitor's going to get an edge on me. But actually, and it's not just the conversations we've had with athletes, it's conversations we've had behind closed doors with
Mhm.
leading professors around the world that have spent years and decades focused on this area of how do you better prepare an athlete for what comes after. And all of them have said overwhelmingly those athletes that allowed themselves to switch off, remove themselves from that fully immersed world of their sport, not only were they comfortable when that time to transition came and it was a simple, seamless transition, but also they were happier, they were more engaged, they were better teammates, they were better individuals when they stepped back into that world because they allowed themselves some time off to just relax and switch off. And
Exactly.
that to me was hugely because I remember back in my day early on before my knee blew out, I was like everybody else. This is 24/7. If I wasn't in the gym, I was on the field kicking. If I wasn't in the field kicking, I was in the gym or I was
Yeah.
running. I was doing something that
And you
I
felt
thought,
guilty if you weren't doing
yeah,
it. Yeah.
yeah. And I think that was the narrative that was created as well.
Yeah.
Was
Absolutely.
if you're not doing something, you're getting left behind.
You're negligent in it. And so I think this is a really important why we're just deliberately touching on these themes is it gives the listeners an opportunity to say everything that we've tried to do at ATA is very much developed by athletes for athletes. And these conversations are how we have shaped where we need to get to. So we're very much aware of this entrepreneurial passion that exists. So how do we help step into that? We also became aware, secondly, of this performance imperative to be able to detach from your sporting discipline. So how do we find something that also does that, that allows people to step away? And then I think there's a third theme that's really come to the fore with a lot of people. So elite sport is a wonderful thing and it unifies people with unbelievable work ethic, commitment, and dedication, whatever discipline. We've talked to people all around the world in a raft of disciplines. They all work extremely hard. They all have a huge amount of professionalism. Where there is wild differences comes in the remuneration and the reward. And obviously, quite rightly and good for them, some elite athletes are paid very well. And that will make transition much easier when they step out of their sport. But there is a huge contingent of athletes who unfortunately are not paid particularly well. And this comes with a whole set of unique challenges that we were probably a little bit blind to when we first launched the business. But I know you've really led on this, Carl, and you're very passionate about this. So what are some of those challenges that you've seen for some of the athletes that are not necessarily earning at a level that allows them to rely on the income solely from their sporting pursuits?
Yeah, there's been some very interesting conversations that have gone off in many different directions, but I guess the main one that pops to mind immediately is unfortunately an inability to pay the bills at the end of the month. And they're female athletes particularly, but it's not necessarily just female athletes. There's track and field athletes, all sorts of other athletes in this same area, but they're having to find secondary roles that is flexible, that has a manager or an organization that understands the expectation and time required to continue competing at that highest level,
Hmm.
just so at the end of the month they can feed themselves, pay their bills, and make sure they can continue performing at this very highest level. Now, extensions of those conversations, when we dive into what we're here for, is what's your passions, what are your ambitions, what are your values, and what are your visions. Now, unfortunately, these secondary roles that most athletes are taking don't fall in line with any of their passions or their ambitions. It's not setting themselves up for life after competing at the highest level.
Right.
It is purely a role to help them pay the bills at the end of the month.
Yeah.
And again, these roles typically are sort of counteracting their ability to recover, to actually switch off fully, to prepare themselves properly for game day or training or whatever it may be associated with their sport, because they're having to be on their feet all day.
There you go.
And this is just
Yeah.
something that keeps coming back to us time and time and time again.
And it makes perfect sense as you articulate it. It makes perfect sense. You think about it. We've seen a lot of this with people who are in the Olympic cycle, as you say. There's a lot of um, females in particular around rugby union, etc., where they're super dedicated, training really hard, but they're having to do roles where they're on their feet a lot, and that is fundamentally causing all sorts of mental angst and anxiety because you know what you should be doing as an elite athlete. You know recovery is imperative, but you're rushing from training session to your secondary job, back to training, and vice versa, and you're just compromising your ability to perform. So there's a number of themes we could keep talking about, Carl, but these are probably core ones that have led us into this. So we've got the fact that we've got this entrepreneurial passion. How are we going to help people dive into that and explore? Because one of the things we hear all the time is explore things. Do things while you're competing to find what excites you and what energizes you. And equally, to dip your toe in some things and perhaps it's not what you thought it was and it allows you to remove that from the potential options of the future. So how do we help them step into that? How do we enhance people's mental well-being and their performance in their discipline by giving them a focus other than just their sporting discipline? And this third leg of the stool almost of how do we help those athletes that need a secondary income to develop that without having to take roles that compromise their ability to physically and mentally recover from the intensity of their training. So drum roll, please. Without further ado, what we've developed is our Success Beyond Sport program. This has a myriad of different options, but it's that overarching aim of how do we help you be successful beyond sport? And there's a section here specifically around entrepreneurship. And under that umbrella, we have partnered with something that we think is particularly groundbreaking with YOPA. Now, YOPA are a nationally recognized estate agency, and they are giving us the opportunity for existing athletes to build their own estate agency in partnership with YOPA. Now, as you can probably sense, there's a bit of excitement in my voice when we're talking about this because this, for Carl and I think goes straight to the heart of some of these issues we've just talked about. It allows people to go through a structured training course developed by Athlete Transition Accelerator and YOPA and be given all the key building blocks, the high performance habits that we want you to embrace, and the tactical and technical aspects of running an estate agency, everything from the marketing, the developing your website, the how to conduct viewings, how to follow up, the customer service, the CRM, the data management, all of that, and be able to have something tangible that you own, your own business. So that allows you to step into that entrepreneurial space. We go into the second theme about being able to step back from your training. You can open up your laptop and you can step into this business as and when you see fit. Do as much or as little as your training commitments and your schedule allows, because we all know there are intensive periods and less intensive periods. There will be time in the year when you can do more on your business and there'll be time when you can do less. But it's very much designed to go at a pace that suits you. And into that third theme, it's an opportunity to build a secondary income immediately. How big that income becomes goes very much back into what I've just said. Depends how much time you want to put into it. But it is not a physically labor intensive commitment where you need to stand on your feet for hours every day. A lot of this is about digital connection. Yes, there are viewings and things to organize, but there are a myriad of ways to do that. You may start bringing in your own staff. You may have people helping you do the viewing. So that third element is particularly exciting for me, that people can start to develop an income stream without necessarily needing to be on their feet every day. So it took us a while to come up with something that fits those core frustrations, Carl, but it really does feel like we've found something here that ticks all the boxes.
Completely agree. I am super excited about this opportunity. It's a real bridge to that gap that's a big problem. Um, who am I and what am I going to do in life after sport? And I need to wait until I'm finishing. No, you don't. And this perfectly allows you to build a business whilst you're performing at the very highest level. Wherever you are in that stage of your career, you could be at the very beginning with hopefully another 10 or 15 years still to compete. But there's no reason why you can't start and build something and supplement your income and just have that sitting there. So when you make that decision to step out from the game, and that's another key thing, is this allows the athlete to have control over that.
Mhm.
We all know the current state of sport, finances are all over the place. Rugby teams are disappearing, people are losing contracts for no reason other than finances aren't there. But this allows you to have control of when those questions start coming up and you start having those conversations. You don't have to keep pushing your body. You don't have to keep going. You are in full control of actually, do you know what? I'm in a really good place. I can just step out and move on. And control was one big element to this as to why we've explored a state agency with YOPA, is it ticks all of the boxes necessary for an athlete to be ready for life after sport.
Yeah, absolutely. And that's a theme again when you listen. If you haven't listened to some of the back catalogue of interviews we've had with athletes, then please do so, because there are a number of them that talk about when I had a plan, the stress levels really dropped away. Most recently, I can think of Charlie Sharples, the Gloucester winger, who had a phenomenal career with Gloucester and knew that he wanted to step into that financial services sector. So he did his qualifications, he had something, and he was able to step into that. And that theme has come through a lot. So knowing that you can build a business removes a lot of the fear. Fear is a word that comes through all the time. I'm just hanging on. As you mentioned, Carl, my body's falling apart. I don't necessarily enjoy it as much as I used to, but I'm doing it because I need to pay the bills. Well, we want to try and stop that. We never say that we're accelerating you to the end of your career. Far from it. We want you to play for as long as you want to, compete for as long as you want to in whatever discipline you do. But when that fulfillment starts to fall away, when it starts to feel more of a chore rather than a pleasure, when the body starts to fall apart, we don't want you stuck in that cycle because you don't have something else. And this is one of our first steps, as you say, Cal, to build that bridge so you've got something that you can bring down from the shelf and say, I've been doing this on the side, now I'm going to put more energy into it. What's also really exciting about this is there are no real restrictions in terms of where it might work. Yes, we have to stress it's UK focused initially. However, if you are in that geography, houses are constantly being put up for sale and purchased in every part of the UK every single day. So that's really nice. This isn't about, well, you need to be in London for this to work or you need to be in a big city. It's about, well, does anybody in my network, does anybody in my community, and your network can go all across the country, obviously, or it could be right on your doorstep. Do I know anybody that's considering selling their house? So I like that. The barrier to entry is very low because we know this is something that has been happening for all time and will continue to happen. There will always be opportunities to buy and sell property. And what's also, I think, really important to stress is you're not going alone. This is a genuine partnership. We will help deliver the training, but we are not estate agents. We are not specialists. That's why we wanted that specialist, intense training with YOPA, but then a genuine partnership. You will be able to work with them moving forward, and they will be able to answer all of the questions and bring to the fore their market experience to help you grow your business. So it isn't a franchise, but it's that sort of principle that you have a business, but you're not completely out there on your own. You have a support network with ATA, and you have a specific support network with YOPA that means I am building my own business, but I'm not out there on my own, which I think will really appeal to a lot of people to say this makes it a more comfortable first step.
100%. You're not by yourself. You're not by yourself. You're stepping into a new world, yes, but you're going to be there supported by people that have got decades of experience and significant success in this area. And just further to your point of networking, James, is athletes have a social worth. They have a platform. People want to engage and interact with athletes. And another theme that keeps coming back from utilizing the benefit of hindsight is there's almost an embarrassment, if you like, of former athletes wanting to use that as a stepping stone to get access to people. And again, another thing that these athletes keep realizing is actually that was silly. I should 100% utilize a platform that I've been able to create because of my sport. And that again goes hand in hand into the world of property. If you as a leading athlete are there as an estate agent to interact with potential clients, people wanting to sell their homes, people are going to want to talk to you.
Yeah,
And you should absolutely utilize that to your benefit without any shame
yeah,
because you've spent years and years of dedication to get to the very top of your game. What comes with that is this social worth.
yeah.
Utilize it as much as you possibly can.
Yeah, you're 100% right. And I think what's nice is you've got something tangible to also be dropping into those conversations. So I think you're right. I think you could probably say practically every single guest we've had on the podcast says, use a network. If you're injured and you're doing sponsor duties on a match day, don't see it as a chore. See it as an opportunity. Shake hands, get to know people. People are there for a reason. They're passionate about your sport. Therefore, they're passionate about you. They want to talk to you. We've talked about famous sportsmen and women. I always forget. You're going to remind me, Carl. Who was the basketball player that we pulled out? Was it Magic Johnson?
Magic Johnson.
Yeah,
Yeah,
Magic
Magic
Johnson.
Johnson.
We found a quote, didn't we, from him saying that he made as much money from his off-court investments than he did from his NBA contracts. And one of the founding steps that he took in that was he asked for the contact details of all the courtside seat holders. And he went and had coffees and lunches with as many of them as possible, built relationships. They wanted to speak to him. They had a passion for him and the team, and they built business opportunities together. The same principle applies for pretty much every athlete that we're talking to. You have a network. What is one thing that happens around your organization, particularly those team sports? New players arrive every year. What do they do when they arrive? They go and buy a property. Players leave. What do they need to do when they leave? They need to sell the property. So you have an opportunity to position yourself immediately to help anybody coming in and going out with your business. Equally, when you're going to have coffees and connect with sponsors, irrespective of what discipline, whether they're a manufacturing business, a digital agency, a financial services business, you can go and learn from them. That's something we encourage everyone to do and explore what they do. And also let them know, oh, I have my own business. I have an estate agency. So if anybody in your business or anybody in your network is interested in putting their property on the market, please do come and have a chat with me. So you've got something tangible that you can leave in every conversation to help build this business. And it's already there. That network is already there. But now, rather than just going in a little bit unsure what you're going to talk about, you're going to go in, get to know them, understand them, and then let them know about your business. And I'm pretty confident, Carl, that because people have that appetite to support the athletes because they're passionate about the sport, if they know you have a specific business that you're trying to get off the ground, then they're going to come your way with contacts and introductions. And so it just keeps flowing. And that's where I think the excitement for both of us is really built, because you just see opportunities everywhere for something that is almost no cost to establish, but has really limitless potential if you're willing to put some time and energy into it.
I don't know what else to add to that. I mean,
Okay, good. Left you speapless. That's what we want people doing when they're listening. Well, listen, let's dive into what probably the next steps are. We've given a bit of an overview here. Hopefully that piques your interest. Hopefully the cogs are turning and you're thinking, well, I could do this. This would fit for me. And you want to know more. Naturally, we're anticipating being oversubscribed for what we can deliver in the first cohort. But the furthest way that we can move this forward is we're going to put together a couple of insight calls. So if you would like to be considered to be a part of those insight calls, we're going to deliver them over Zoom. We're going to get interested people together. We're going to give people an opportunity to ask their questions, and then we will open up that initial cohort and let people put themselves forward to be willing to invest to be a part of that. Obviously, there is going to be a cost of participation, as you'd expect. It's a training program and then a fully fledged business opportunity at the other side. So if you'd like to know more, get in touch through all the contact details in the show notes. You can reach out to our support at email address. You can reach out to Carl on his address. It's in there. You can connect with either one of us on LinkedIn and send a DM, but express your interest and we will come back to you and let you know whether you're going to be able to be part of one of these insight calls, because we anticipate high demand. We feel like this is a fit, irrespective of your discipline, irrespective of what you are doing from a sporting participation point of view. We feel this can help. And therefore, we want you to have the opportunity to put your hat in the ring and be considered to be a part of this. I think that's covered everything, Carl. Is there anything else you think we need to mention at this stage?
Don't think so, mate. I think that's pretty much everything. Just reiterating how excited we are about this. It's a real game changer. There's nothing out there currently that supports athletes in this sort of way. So yeah, just hugely excited to get this first cohort in and get going, and just starting to see the businesses that athletes can build to prepare themselves properly for life after sport.
Absolutely. Well, it's been a pleasure getting our thoughts out there. It's been a long time building, hasn't it? I think it proves that consultation with athletes, we always said it was the best way. It's been proven because they have helped us steer what the needs of the modern day athlete are. And hopefully, having listened to this, you understand that the thought and sincere effort that's gone into trying to tailor something that addresses those specific needs. And hopefully those are needs that resonate with you. And hopefully this is an opportunity that resonates. So we look forward to connecting with you and inviting you into those insight calls, giving you more information and potentially working with you as you build your own business, support your professional performance and your ability to remove some of the fear and trepidation about what might come next after your sporting chapter.
Thanks for joining us this week on our ATA podcast. If you found this conversation insightful and it resonates with your journey, please subscribe, follow the show, and stay connected with us for more insights, resources, and information on how we at ATA are supporting your preparation for life beyond the game.